The views or opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Westman Communications Group or its employees.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 7 now? Is this 7? I think this is 7 now. Yeah. We might have lost count. We've done so many.
Yeah.
To us, that seems like a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're doing them every, other week or whatever.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been consistently able to do it, once a week since we started in, beginning of March. So we're trucking along, and we're never going to stop. Trucking. Moving
anyway.
Quick. Moving fast with speed. We are going to do...
We're Lightning McQueen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome to this episode. I am your host, Colin Shalleck, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Mrs. Kenzie Jordan. How are you doing?
Miss? No, just kidding.
Miss? Sorry.
No, I'm good. Keeping busy. Now that school's out, I'm working 3 jobs, so I'm go all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
3.
I work housekeeping at one of the hotels in town, and then I work at Twisters. Come to Twisters while I'm working.
Free ice cream.
Not free. Don't do that.
Not free ice cream.
Don't get me fired from my job.
Okay, there's no ice cream that is free. You have to pay full price.
But Twisters is really good, and Twisters ice cream is made with real cream. It's not fake.
Ooh.
Also, if you didn't know, I did a Bites and Delights episode on Twisters before I got the job. That's actually how I got the job there.
Wow, you just free promotion. They just said, do you want to come work with us?
Well, no, I was telling the boss about how I used to work at an ice cream shop back home, and he's like, if you ever need a part-time job, here's my number.
I mean, it worked.
I'm working one job and I got another job. Anyway.
Easy.
But yeah, come to Twisters, watch that Bites and Delights episode when it airs.
And no free ice cream.
Please pay for it. Please pay for it. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
How are you doing?
Big exhale. Well, because essentially, when I said earlier that we're doing an episode at least once a week, that has kind of been put on hold a little bit. It's been 3 weeks since our last episode was taped because I have basically hit a brick wall, metaphorically.
No, you actually ran into it. Do you not remember?
She's saying that I am silly enough to run into a brick wall, but...
That's because he is.
I wouldn't do that.
He probably would.
Okay, I probably would. But metaphorically speaking, I've hit a brick wall in terms of my health. I have been struck with a sickness of some kind. And I say of some kind because we don't know what it is. I've been in and out of walk-in clinics. I've been to the ER actually once as well. Basically, I've been hit with the type of symptoms that are consistent with either one of 5 different things because, once again, we don't know what it is truly. It could either be GERD or acid reflux, Crohn's disease, gluten intolerance, colitis, or IBS. It's been, the past 3 weeks have kind of been HE double hockey sticks on Earth for me. So
that is so Canadian. Oh my God.
That is so Canadian. Well, I don't believe in swearing.
People don't say it like that, but it's kind of funny. I didn't realize, this is so off topic, but I didn't realize that the HE double hockey sticks was only Canadian.
Is it?
Yeah, other people say HE double toothpicks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Canadian show, Canadian company, Canadian everything. You just got to keep the branding going.
I just found that really funny. Sorry. Unknown fact for everybody.
So
before we dive in, mention the email.
The email. Oh, that's right.
Before we forget,
if you or someone you know is interested in doing a podcast either with us or on your own or with a group of friends here in-house at WCGTV, just hit us up at the email at wcgtv@westmancom.com.
You sound like such an advertisement.
Yes, my whole family lineage goes back to advertisements.
Yogurt ads or?
Yogurt, yogurt and stamps.
And stamps.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Before we jump into the proper topic today, though, which I've kind of alluded to already, we have to talk about Kenzie's caffeine challenge.
Yeah, it's been a month and a half, and I've been staying strong, guys. Actually, I don't even miss it that much.
Good job.
It's mostly the reason I drank caffeine before was just for the flavor. It really didn't do much for like my energy.
Right.
But I've gotten a lot into water since then.
It's good.
And honestly,
I
it's
mean,
good for me.
Yeah. Water, well, it's the essence of life. Caffeine's not the essence of life. But
Just like a little
but there's so many
animation at some
times
point.
where you'll like send me a snap and I think you're drinking caffeine and I'm like ready to call you out on it, being like, is that caffeine? Is that caffeine? But it's like some random sugary drink that probably does have caffeine
Are you
in
the
it.
caffeine police?
Well, yeah, kind of.
No, I've always been checking my labels and making sure. Like, I've been really into the root beer. I think the one that has, I think it's mug root beer.
Yeah.
Well, that one that has no caffeine. But my mom sent me home a bunch of root beer last time I went. And it was the mug root beer with no caffeine. And I've just been like,
Chugging
so
that.
and then water and chai tea.
Chai tea. That's right.
Yeah.
Have you had like any cravings per se, or have they been?
It's been pretty good, actually. And I've saved a lot of money not buying energy drinks.
Yes.
And with working 14-hour days, you'd think I'd be dead right now. Like, with no caffeine, I mean, it's a lot harder, I think, to chug through those 14-hour days.
It's true.
But it's gotten a bit easier as I get in the workflow.
That's true, yeah. And, well, you know, you could always protein as well. That's the main energy source. You know, get your
Become a
meat, your
bodybuilder.
chicken, your peanut butter, your eggs.
I don't like peanut butter.
What? I've learned
That's not
something
the
new.
topic of conversation today.
No, it's not. We can't get off topic because with that, today's topic is about health. And why are we talking about health? It's because how I've felt like I've been slowly dying for the past 3 weeks.
Well, and we both have health problems. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
we now both have health problems.
Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'll start too, since
All
I've
right.
kind of already alluded to it. So basically, up until about the beginning of March, I have been one of the most healthy people you will ever meet on this earth.
That's a bit of a stretch, but okay.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Have you met someone healthier than me?
Myself. That's a lie.
We'll get to that. But yeah, basically I am a person that never gets sick. Like when I say sick, I mean like, you know, the cold or the flu. That for the most part would happen about once a year tops. And there was a streak there where during the COVID pandemic, when we were all wearing masks and sanitizing and washing our hands, I had about a 2-year streak where I didn't get the cold or flu once. Like, I'm not kidding. I still haven't even gotten COVID. So I've always been a very, very healthy person. But then since the beginning of March, I started having these kind of inconsistent but also mild symptoms that at first we thought seemed like very acid reflux type symptoms, and that's what my walk-in clinic doctors think it is, but there's a lot that's not adding up. There's a lot of stuff that's missing from it, because when you think of acid reflux, you might think of heartburn. So, you know, you get burning in your chest, burning in your esophagus, or, you know, you're getting like kind of spit up and whatnot. None of that has happened. The only things that of acid reflux that I have had have been slight kind of tightening of like my throat, but almost not even like in the esophagus or in the windpipe, kind of more like in the sides here and almost kind of like up in the kind of mandible region. And combined with that, very mild, inconsistent nausea, but it was so mild that it didn't have much of an effect. That's kind of how it was from early March. And then the frequency and severity of it slowly but steadily started to increase. And I tried to modify my behaviors in that you might remember from some previous episodes, I've quit drinking soda for the most part, stopped fast food. And, you know, you'd think that, you know, because highly fatty foods and very sugary foods are big triggers for acid reflux. Symptoms never went away. They, in fact, just kept getting worse. Then it reached a culmination of about, 2-3 weeks ago now, where beginning of the weekend, it started to like ramp up where it wasn't just, you know, maybe 1 or 2 times, very kind of short and sporadic, maybe about an hour in the day. It was now all day, every day. And the feeling in which both stomach and throat started to just get worse and worse. And then by the start of so a couple days later after the weekend, it got so bad that I had to take my first sick day off work in like nearly a year. And went to the walk-in clinic. They prescribed me some medication to hopefully dull the symptoms. And then the very next day on Tuesday, I tried going into work. Now that I'm thinking, well, I have this medication. Hopefully it'll help. No, I ended up leaving work halfway throughout the day early, and I go to ER because the nausea is so intense. I'm like feeling weak, dizzy, insanely dry mouth. I'm like losing weight. And I then, well, if you are in Manitoba, you are aware of our current healthcare system. I sat and waited in ER for about 7.5 hours or so.
Jeez.
Yeah. And when the doctor finally saw me, they gave me an ultrasound. Even though I wasn't pregnant, I've had an ultrasound.
You sure you're not pregnant?
I'm sure he looked and they didn't find anything.
And they didn't find a baby.
They looked and they didn't find a baby. But if you've ever had an ultrasound, the one thing I didn't know is that jelly that they put on your like abdomen or stomach, it's cold.
I've heard
really
that.
Cold.
I've heard it's very cold.
And I was looking at the screen, I'm like, whoa, that's the inside of my body. That's so cool.
Oh, there's a baby.
No, there's a baby. What?
What?
Yeah, so they looked and they did a blood and a urine sample while I was there. And, you know, they had like this big sheet of paper that looked at all my blood test results. And I don't kind of remember all the units of measurement and what exactly it means. But essentially, they looked at like the white and red blood cell levels just in general, and then they looked at, I think, like the levels kind of around all my major organs in the associated areas. Everything appeared normal. So good, I guess. And but
good, I guess.
I don't know. They just said keep taking the medication, and if it gets worse and if XYZ starts occurring after that, come back. Thankfully, none of that has really happened, but since then, it's basically been up and down. I've had my good days, I've had my bad days, and now it's almost kind of shifted in a way where it's really hard to tell what amount of this is if I'm still feeling symptoms and they're being dulled by the medication, or I'm feeling really bad medication side effects. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very blurry line because sometimes I'll feel some bits of symptoms from when it started to new things that range from a wide variety of things, but it's hard for me to also make a distinction of whether or not this is connected to what I'm feeling or if this is just a temporary health ailment and it's connected to what I'm feeling. It's such a blurry line.
Yeah.
So I have felt everything from feeling weak, tired, random pains in my abdomen and my side, which almost like screams inflammation. Mm-hmm. So basically, to kind of summarize, it's very inconsistent. 2 separate walk-in clinic doctors believe it's GERD, but I just can't help but feeling there's something more to it. Or maybe I'm having GERD symptoms that's being caused by something else. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm starting to think it's more in the intestines. Because
Yeah.
I've had intestinal issues in some degree for like over 10 years now. So I don't know if this is like, you know, revenge of the intestines, and it's come in a horrible wave. So basically, because I went and got blood tested on Wednesday and to test for celiac disease because we initially thought it was gluten. And I've been gluten-free for like 3 weeks. And again, mixed results of if I'm feeling better or not. But after I get the results, I'm gonna try and kind of steer it in a direction of testing for like Crohn's or something else because
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta try all your options and figure
Yeah.
out what it is.
Yeah, it's almost like a process of trying to weed out what it's not.
Yeah, I feel
Right.
like that's how it is with a lot of health things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, when I go to the doctor and they ask your symptoms, they like rule out what it won't be first.
Yeah.
It's harder to determine what it is than what it isn't, I feel.
Yeah.
As for me, I am lactose intolerant and I have low iron. So the story of that was last year in 2023 in January. I went to the doctor, but it started affecting me of like that Christmas. So Christmas 2022, I started just feeling so sick all the time. Like there's dairy in everything, I'm pretty sure that
Well,
we
it's in a
eat
lot
at
of
this
things.
point. So like over Christmas, I felt completely just so sick to my stomach, gassy, like just everything in my stomach was just not feeling good. And I thought I was just having the flu for a bit, but it wasn't. So then come January, it got worse, and like I could barely eat anything without feeling sick. So then I was like, I need to do something. So I went and booked a doctor's appointment and just told them, like, I have stomach issues. I think it might be lactose intolerance, which is what me and my mom kind of thought it would be. Even though no one in my family has ever been lactose intolerant. So it was kind of weird for it to just come out of nowhere, especially as like an almost 18-year-old at the time. I think it was 17. So usually you get it when you're younger. And either you have it from birth or it hits you earlier on in life. But it just came out when I was like 17. And so I go to the doctor and she's feeling my stomach and she's just like, does that hurt? Because I had just eaten lunch and I was like, oh, that hurt. And like we were trying to figure it out. And she goes, well, I think you're right about it being lactose intolerance, but I need to send you for blood work. She's like, I want to rule out any autoimmune disorder or any disease, something like that. And if you know me, I absolutely hate needles. Yes, I'm covered in tattoos, but tattoo needles and medical needles are different, and I will die on this hill.
Medical needles, like, they prick, jab, and go right in through.
You also don't really get much out of it.
No. It's
tattoos, at least you have ink and you look cool.
This is true.
Anyway, so the next day I go for blood work, which I absolutely hated it. I went for blood work, and then they also took a urine sample, and it took about a week or so for me to get my results back. And actually, I didn't get my results until I went to meet with a dietitian. So the doctor also had me meet up with a dietitian to see what we could do to figure out and like kind of revise my diet to see if that would help. So about a week later, I go to see the dietitian for my first appointment, and she actually comes up with my blood work, and thank God there was no like autoimmune disease or anything. Like it was pretty healthy, except I had low iron, which nobody knew about because first time I ever had my blood drawn, but it makes a lot of sense. It really doesn't, but I had low iron, so not only now did I have to change my diet to incorporate the lactose intolerance, I had to also worry about the low iron because they didn't want me to put me on the pills because the iron pills are so hard on your stomach and so hard on your body that they didn't want to put me through that as a young person. So yeah, it was a journey. Like with my dietitian, we met like 4 or 5 times a month to like try and figure out what we could do and whatnot. Like when I moved here, I had a couple phone call appointments with her, and just stuff like that because we were worried about in any dairy, there's a lot of vitamin D, but when taking away the lactose out of it, lactase, whatever it's called.
Lactate.
Lactose, I think is what it's
Let's just
called.
call it lactose.
Anyway, by taking that out of it and not drinking as much dairy, like lactose-free milk is so low in vitamin D.
Really?
And if I don't drink any milk at all, it's even, like, I'm not getting any vitamin D unless it's from the sun.
Yep.
Okay. Not a science kid. But basically, she made me go on vitamins for my vitamin D. Brain has stopped braining. And she actually said everybody should be on vitamin D. Like, not even just me for being lactose-free and low iron, but, like, every single person should be taking vitamin D pills because nobody ever gets enough of it.
No.
Not, like, the sun only gives you a minuscule part of what you need.
Yeah.
So, like,
unless you live, like, outside, you probably don't get enough.
And that is what controls your energy. So if you feel a lot tired all the time, it's probably because you have low vitamin D. And yeah, so I had to double my intake of my vitamin D pills. So like a normal person would take 1, I take 2 or 3 a day. Just because I'm lacking so much of it. And then I have to take multivitamins that have iron in it because she wants to keep my iron as high as we can without giving me pills.
Right.
And then I also have to take vitamin C for my immune system, which everybody should be taking vitamin C for their immune system. Take
Do
vitamin
it.
C. It is good for you. It'll help your immune system. You should also be taking vitamin C. Even if it
should.
doesn't it won't fix all your issues, but it'll be good for your immune system to build it up.
Yeah.
And then as for the diet part of things, I had to lactose-free milk, which if you don't know, lactose-free products are so expensive. Same with gluten-free, but
Oh, trust me, I know.
it's so crazy. Like, you pay for, like, way smaller size things.
Yeah.
And you pay,
And
like, twice the price.
A lot more.
It's crazy. Like,
I could justify the price a little more if they would have made, like, the amount that you get in the product
the same as normal.
If it was the same as normal products, I could justify the price a little more. But if
Yeah.
it's like 100 grams less of like
For three,
spaghetti,
yeah.
but it's like $2-3 more, it's like, why?
Yeah. Like, milk in the 4-liter jugs, I think it's like $7.
Like
Something
lactose
like
free.
that? No, just like regular milk. A 4-liter jug is like $7 or $8, I think.
I never pay attention to it.
Don't quote me on that. But a 2-liter carton of lactose-free milk is the same price as a 4-liter of regular milk. So I'm getting 2 less liters for like the same price. And it's painful.
Justice for lactose and gluten.
We're starting
Justice.
a riot. No.
Well, it's unfortunate though, because it's like if you're trying to take better care of yourself, like, I should say, like, it's like the only other seemingly alternative is just, I'll just have the normal stuff and save more, but then it's at a detriment to your health
yeah,
and your
you're
body.
ruining your guts.
So it's like, would you rather ruin your health and save money, or have money be more tight, but you don't die?
Yeah. Like for
It's-
me, moving here and now being a single female living alone, I've actually had to change. I don't drink a lot of milk as it is. So, and you can't, all you can get for lactose-free milk is the 2-liter carton. And I would drink maybe a quarter of it and then it would go bad. So what I had to start doing is go to the 1-liter regular milks and then start taking pills for lactate, which half the time don't even work for me. Like have lactate pills, which basically helps your body break down the lactose, and so it wouldn't affect you as much. But sometimes I feel like they don't work for me at all.
Really?
And they only last for 4 hours after you take them. So you have to carry them on you at all times. And it's for me, it's hit or miss if it's going to work for me.
Damn.
So I'm praying half the time if I take them that it's not going to bother me. So I feel it's definitely hit or miss with my diet. So I try not to have dairy at all.
Yeah.
And just get my vitamin D from other places, get those nutrients from other places. And when I was having issues with my dietitian and we were trying to figure out what was going on, she said you could also be allergic to the protein in milk, which has a lot of the same symptoms as lactose intolerance, and it's really hard to differentiate between the two. But I think we landed on I'm fully lactose intolerant because the lactose-free milk doesn't bother me.
And it has the same.
And it
protein.
all has the same proteins.
Huh.
So
Okay.
if you... Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say, is it possible to have both the proteins and the lactose? Or?
I think it's possible.
Okay.
I do. Because technically it would be if I stopped drinking regular milk and the lactose-free milk bothered me, then I would have both.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But I feel like if you are struggling with it, definitely, 1, see your doctor, and 2, try drinking lactose-free milk. If it still bothers you, then it's probably the protein and you're going to have to figure out something else.
Yeah, I got to figure out some kind of alternative.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. We're both
We're dying.
Yeah, we're both slowly dying.
I feel so that was just one part of my diet that I had to change.
Yeah.
I also had to change it for my low iron side of things because low iron makes you really, really dizzy all the time, and I get when you stand up too fast and you get dizzy.
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
I feel that way 98% of the time. And I have almost passed out a couple times.
Really?
Been on the verge of passing out. I should have actually went to the doctor sooner because when I was in high school, I almost passed out in a class. And then nobody even noticed because when you are about to pass out, I lost my hearing, my sight. Like, it was just ringing in my ears. That's all I could hear. I couldn't hear anybody talking or anything. It was just, like, ringing.
Wow.
And then my vision started going black around the edges.
Oh, like
and I felt
tunnel
woozy.
vision almost?
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt super woozy. And it took me, like, 30 minutes to get back to normal.
Damn.
But, like, that's, like, the signs you know you're going to pass out. But if you're, like, dizzy and tired, that's also a sign of low iron. So, like, I could sleep, like, 12 hours, get a good night's sleep or whatever, and I'm still tired all the time because my body needs that iron, and the iron is what keeps you awake.
Yeah.
And so for low iron, I've started to eat, like, more red meat, which has more iron in it. And bagels are a high source of iron, if you didn't know.
Bagels.
Yeah. There's a couple things, like, I'm not a fan of that are high in iron. Like, I think it's, like, soya beans or something.
Oh,
Maybe.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But there's some things that I don't want to eat because I just don't like them. But, like, bagels, I love bagels. And they're such a high source of iron that I try and eat, like, bagels all the time.
Yeah. Maybe I should try that.
You should.
Have more bagels.
Have more bagels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, yeah, I know. It's such a frustrating stage, and that's the stage that I'm kind of at now, where we don't truly know what it is. We're trying to figure it out, and that takes time, unfortunately, and it just feels like you don't have time and you don't want to wait because you're feeling, especially in my situation, like when you're kind of feeling like crap to varying degrees, like all the time, it's like you just want it to be over and you want to have an answer and you want to rebound, but it's when you're caught right in the middle of it, which is like essentially what I'm doing, it's tough.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. That was me, like, early January, Christmas area, before I was diagnosed. You feel so defeated because you're like,
you feel
what
defeated,
is happening to my body?
tired, just empty, and your mental health does suffer
Yeah.
for it. It 100% does. And especially a lot of medication. It negatively impacts it. And I have noticed some changes since I started taking the medication. A long list of things, but yeah, it's crappy. And I'm already a thin guy, and
Yeah, he's very thin.
yeah,
He's like a
I'm very
stick.
thin. Did you say I'm like a stick?
Yes. He is.
I appreciate it.
Sorry, I had to make you laugh a little bit. You look sad.
Yeah. Bring up the emotion. Yeah, well, I'm already thin, but I've lost weight. I've lost like 10 pounds. So that's another thing that I feel like one of the big things that might be going on, which explains maybe why I'm so pale, or maybe because I'm so thin and I'm tired, is that maybe there's malabsorption of nutrients going on. And that, to my knowledge, is one of the symptoms of Crohn's. So, and when you leave stuff like that untreated, it just gets worse over time, which, again, it's such a big varying thing of like whether it's GERD or it's something with the intestinal or just the overall GI tract or the gastrointestinal tract. I'm leaning to more towards that. I could be wrong. Of course, I mean, there are doctors, and if the doctors say it's GERD initially, I have to take their word for it in some context. I can't just immediately write it off. But I don't know. It's frustrating because you don't get a lot of time, especially with like walk-in at NER. You don't get a lot of time to sit down and talk with them. It's sit down and write a prescription out.
I feel like it's so frustrating. Like, I don't know. I miss being that healthy person who didn't have to worry about it. Like,
Me
it's
too.
so frustrating to always be so conscientious of what I eat and what is in the food I eat. Like, I just feel like my life before my diagnosis was a lot easier because I didn't have to worry about what I was eating. I didn't have to change my diet.
Me too.
But now I'm sitting here spending $60 on 3 items at the grocery store because I can't have regular stuff.
I know.
And I just feel like it's
tough.
it's so mentally frustrating because
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh yeah, no, I understand it. It bothers me." I'm like, "No, I literally
You don't understand.
is
Like
a
we
health
appreciate
problem.
your support, but you don't understand.
But you don't understand. It's a health issue for us. Like, yeah, some people get affected by dairy, but it's not to the degree that I am affected by it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I know. And just in my case, it's frustrating because it's for me, it's bad enough to where it's really like affecting like my overall quality of work. You know, I've had to take like 2 sick days already, and I'm a person that like never ever takes it. I don't know. It kind of defeats me a little bit when I have to take time off, because in my mind it feels like I'm letting the team down, and I'm not here. And sure, yeah, I'm sick, but it's like, I'm not usually a person who is sick. So when something this big and this bad hits me and affects me, it's just, I don't know. You just feel defeated. That's kind of what it is.
It just feels like, I don't know, it feels suffocating, I feel. Like,
Yeah, just kind of slow strangle on you.
and you feel so separate from everybody else. Like, when I was diagnosed with my lactose intolerance, this was January of my senior year, and I was in the school play, and we were going for regionals, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so we were going somewhere else, and they were cooking food for us. And they were like, oh, we need to know your dietary restrictions. And I was like one of the last ones to tell them, but I was like, oh, well, I'm lactose intolerant because, like, it was a really recent diagnosis. I'm sorry, I wish I could have got it to you earlier. And so then they got it to them, and I was the only actual lactose intolerant one. In the entire, there was like 5 or 6 schools there.
Really?
Yeah, and so they made me a special meal of like, they cooked everything separately, no dairy in it at all. And I was very appreciative of it because they took the time to make sure that I wasn't going to feel sick.
But then conversely, then you feel separated.
I felt bad.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, they have to go through like all this extra effort just for me, and they say they don't mind, but I don't know.
It just feels like
you kind of get in your own
you feel
head
like
a lot.
Problem.
Yeah, I know.
And then for dessert, they were doing ice cream sundae bar or whatever. But I actually found out that they went out and bought me my own pail of lactose-free ice cream. Like, it was one of those carton things, but it was like
in a way, that's actually pretty cool, because it's like, well, I just get free ice cream.
Well, and then they were
awesome.
like, you can take it home after, and I was like, sweet. And then I forgot it.
Oh.
I was so sad.
I was like, it makes up for it, and then all of a sudden,
I forgot it, and I was so sad.
It's probably still sitting there. It's like
probably.
spoiled, gone rotten, it's melted, and it's like, when are you coming back?
Are you coming back for it? Yeah, no, I felt, in a way, I felt thankful for it, like for them taking that measure to make sure that I felt welcome and included. But at the same time, I felt so separate from everybody else. I had to go into the kitchen and leave the room to go get my food, and I felt like
a bit of a burden almost.
Yeah. And I also had a separate meal from everybody else, so I kind of felt like the outcast because of my health issues.
Yeah. And with what I'm dealing with too, it's not even exclusive. Sorry.
Kicking each other under the table.
Yeah, but like when you have these type of health issues that are kind of, really limited to like the gut area, it's pretty common that, your social life kind of decreases, because most of the time it involves food or going out and being active, but you feel like you can't get away from the bathroom for too long, or if you're just stuck in your house. Oh, come on.
I'm sorry, that was funny.
But it's just it's tough. I mean, I feel like we could just keep saying the same thing, but I mean, if you're watching and you have something similar to what we've been dealing with, you might understand and all that, but I don't know. It's just it's a really tough thing, and you just have to.
Yeah,
you have to stay strong and you have to persevere, but there are times where it's tough. You just feel like you can't.
I feel like people think they understand until they actually go through it. Like, I thought I understood what, like, lactose intolerance was until I actually was diagnosed with it. And then I was like, it is a lot different than you perceive it to be when you don't have it.
Of course.
The other thing that really bothers me about having lactose intolerance, mine is medically diagnosed. There are people who will, like, self-diagnose. Yeah. And I was like, I get that, I do. But if you're having the real issues, just go get it medically diagnosed to be sure.
Yeah.
Don't just say you have something. It's also not cool to have something.
No.
I'm sorry, but people would say...
There are some people who... a small minority, but there are probably some people who think it's like, ooh, I'm different, or I'm special because of it. It's... Yeah. You do not want to flaunt this stuff as a stuff of pride. like, oh yeah, I'm special, I'm cool because I have this.
That's-
Give me your sympathy.
Yeah, no, I don't want sympathy. It's the first thing I tell people usually when I meet them, because I'm like, if you're ever cooking me food or anything like that, like, I can't have dairy.
Yeah.
And I just basically tell people so that they know, because your friends like to buy you food or like make you food, and you don't want to not eat it. Like, if it's made with dairy, I'm gonna try and eat it even though I physically shouldn't. But I like having my friends and people in my life know, because at least then they are aware of it.
Of course, yeah.
But I just feel like there's some people out there who think it's like a brag, and it's definitely
I know.
not.
Yeah, I've never agreed with that, and I think that's pretty scummy in a way. But yeah,
Yeah, I think if you're thinking that you have something, get it medically diagnosed.
get it. Well, yeah, just get it done.
It takes a bit of time, yes, but I would rather know for sure that I have something than say, oh, think I have something, but it actually be something else that's worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's even like, you can even think of like veganism as well. It's not a burden to be vegan. I mean, I know we're kind of getting into that realm of you know, there are some, you can read a lot of stuff online where people like to make fun of vegans, or, you know, there are people who kind of wear the veganism brand kind of on their sleeve and whatnot. And I feel like those kind of bad apples that you see on social media take away from the people who need to be vegan, because like there are some people who have so many allergies or health ailments that like they need to go vegan.
Well,
like,
I
it's
feel
just,
like
just is what it is.
I feel like that's why there's so many different like diet types and different food types out there, is because yes, there are people who have issues with everything. Like, this is just lactose intolerance and whatever the heck you're going through.
Whatever the heck I am.
But there are so many different things that affect people's diets out there.
Absolutely.
That you should never feel like a burden, even though, like, I know we both probably feel like burdens all the time to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
You shouldn't have to feel that way. If it's a health thing, it's a health thing. If you're doing it just to do it, that's a different thing. And even then, it's your choice. But if it's relating to your health, if it's going to put you into a position where you might not be healthy or you might get sick off of it, don't ever risk something just because people make you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
I feel like
and if everyone's going out for like drinks, for example, and if alcohol just doesn't agree with you for some reason or another, and they're not willing to compromise or change the plans because of it, sometimes just there's no shame in just stepping away.
Yeah.
Just I'm not
you don't need alcohol to have fun.
You don't know. Absolutely not. But
I just I feel like your health
less judgment about what we eat. Okay.
Your health as a person is more important than anyone else's judgment ever.
Than pleasing somebody or trying to, you know, make your friends happy, or, you know, or you're not our friend, or you're lame because you know, we all like to go for pizza and you can't have pizza. Well, it's like,
and I feel like that's a big judgment in society.
It's not our fault that we're like this. There are I think probably a majority of these food ailments can hit people, and maybe they are like, we live pretty, you know, healthy lives and healthy like diets, and this stuff still strikes us. It doesn't matter if, you know, you get hit with GERD, for example, because people who are at risk of GERD are either people who are obese or they smoke. I'm not. You're neither. I'm neither of that. Or people
and it
who
still hit you.
Yeah, and it still hits me. Maybe. So
yeah, it
can happen to anybody. It can happen to you.
I've been having dairy all my life, and then it just stopped it started affecting me when I turned 17.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. Nobody really knows why it happened.
No, it's just one day something in your body just changes, and we can't see it unless you
get tested for it.
Yeah, unless you get tested or a doctor looks at you.
There are a couple things that are like genetic, like my low iron, for example. Although it still doesn't make sense to me, my dad is diabetic, and so we've already had, like, we used to eat healthy all the time because of him being diabetic. We all ate healthy because of it, and so he ended up with too much iron. My dad had way too much iron that he had to get bags and bags of blood taken and just dumped because they couldn't use it. And he had way too high of an iron count. My mom, however, also suffers from low iron, and she was on pills for a while. But in my mind, the way genetics should work,
It should balance out with
right? And
It doesn't.
my siblings are fine. My siblings have no health issues. Well, I mean, my little sister is disabled, but that's a whole other thing. Like, I love her.
But in terms of iron,
In terms of, like, iron, everybody else is normal. Nobody else has lactose intolerance. None of us are diabetic. So I'm just like, what happened with me? I was just,
Yeah.
they dump all the bad
exactly,
chromosomes
like,
into me.
And genetics, it can be your best friend in some
Or
ways,
your worst
or
enemy.
it be your worst enemy. Like, I'm 6'4" because almost like my dad's tall, my grandfather's tall, and I'm tall, but maybe this is genetics
Yeah.
from something else. And
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't. It's not genetics. It can just happen to you. You could be the first.
Lactose intolerance. The first.
So it can happen to anybody, regardless if it's lifestyle choice or not. So
Yeah.
if you're maybe one of those people that maybe even if you won't admit it, you might silently judge people like that, or you've been judgmental in the past in some context, just before you go judging someone, just walk a mile in their shoes first.
Because with both of them, you feel like with any health issue, I feel like you go through such bad sickness beforehand, before you even go to the doctor or anything. And I feel like it's so rough on your body. Like, I know when I was going through it and getting sick, I didn't want to do anything or go anywhere.
Yeah,
And so
that's
I
where
was
I'm
kind
at
of a hermit.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's
So just don't judge somebody until you know what they're going through. And even then, don't judge people, because I feel like that puts a lot on somebody. And I know
yeah, it's not going to help their situation
No.
if they're already kind of down bad.
they're already feeling like self-conscious about themselves and like trying to figure out what they need to do for themselves. If you judge them, it's only going to make them feel worse about it and make
Yeah,
them feel like
exactly.
more
It's-
of a
yeah.
burden.
It's not going to go anywhere.
Just be kind to your friends.
Yeah, this
who have
is
this.
this basically all ties in at the end with be kind to yourself and be kind to others.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
It really
I feel like
does.
we've lost that a bit, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other topic. But
Yeah, I feel like today's society is a lot worse than it used to be, especially when I was from when I was in
feel
like
like-
elementary school
yeah.
to like now.
it almost feels like every generation can make that argument about like when they were kids. It's like, oh, it's not like it used to be.
No, but I feel like it's just gotten way downhill. Maybe we'll do that for another episode talking about.
This is such a downer episode. We're
Yeah,
sorry if you
we're
wanted a
sorry.
more fun episode from us, but sometimes you have to have these conversations. If it's uncomfortable or if it brings it down in the dumps, sometimes it is better to talk about it because
I feel
you
like
feel less alone.
Yeah.
You feel less isolated if you're dealing with issues that, like maybe in our cases when it is hitting us or when they first flare up, you isolate
Yeah.
yourself mentally, socially. When you can get on and you can maybe talk, with you, the audience, you're our friends, and or talk with, friends like in a room, that it at least, even though it might not make the physical pain go away, it might make some of the kind of like what you were saying, kind of being self-conscious
Yeah.
or some of the mental strife. It can help relieve that.
I feel like having people accept and understand it is the best thing you can have when you're in either of our situations. And I feel like, I don't know, when you were telling me about your health issues, I was like, this would make an excellent podcast episode. Yeah, it's a bit sad, and we're talking about how we've been feeling sick and how we've been isolating ourselves and stuff like that. But at the same time, I feel like we both really needed to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it gets us kind of feeling better about it, and our viewers get to know us even better.
Get to know us a
and
little better.
Get to
So-
love us even more.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to say this right now because no family doctors have been able to reach me for 2 years. I've been on a waiting list for 2 years, fun fact.
Really?
If you are watching and if you're a family doctor and you're accepting new patients, email, hit us up. No, I'm kidding.
He's gonna put his phone number on the screen.
My phone number and my email are on the screen. You need to get in contact with me.
I have a Saskatchewan family doctor, actually. So that's the nice part. I'm technically a dual citizen
A dual citizen.
of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. I don't have a Saskatchewan driver's license anymore. I have a Manitoba license, but I have health cards from both provinces, and I can use both health cards. So
Really?
the Saskatchewan one has all of my parents' benefits, and my family doctor and all that stuff. I haven't used the Manitoba one yet, but it's got my school benefits, I think, on it, or it should.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can use both, and I've got double the health benefits, which is kind of nice.
That's pretty lucky. Yeah, that's pretty fortunate.
I'm not that far from Mooseman, which is where my doctors are.
Right.
But like literally I need to refill a prescription the other day, and I just called up my doctor in Saskatchewan, and she's like, yep, I'll do that. And then my parents picked up the prescription, and I get to get it this weekend. So it's really nice.
Just
to
that
have.
easy.
Yeah, it is just that easy.
So.
Yeah. I just feel like.
Yeah. So again, I mean, we've reiterated the point several times in this episode, but if you feel like something is wrong, go to a doctor. It's never beneficial to just
Leave it.
swear it away unless it magically goes away
Then maybe.
like, quickly. If it
Yeah.
doesn't do that, it never hurts just to go talk to somebody. Yes, even though we, the problems that our healthcare system has had in the last couple of years, even though, yes, we know those problems, it's sometimes you have to kind of.
Sometimes it pays to go to a doctor.
Yeah, even if it's a long wait, or you have to go several times to like get the proper answer.
I feel like in this scenario, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly. Oh,
So,
exactly. Because I mean,
yeah.
I'm of the belief that you get one body, take care of it.
Exactly.
So
You don't want to have your life end too early because you just were ignorant and didn't want to get something checked out. I know.
or
like,
you were afraid to,
Yeah.
or anything like that.
I feel like I have a huge fear of like doctors' offices and hospitals and stuff like that, and I don't even know why. But I feel like bad things come out of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I need to go and I need to find out what's wrong. Like, no matter how anxious or scared I feel, I'm still like, in my mind, I'm like, I need to know.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's how you should be. Even if you're scared, just do it.
Absolutely.
You'll feel a lot better when you know what's going on.
Yeah. See, that's kind of where that's the goal that I'm trying to get to. It's just trying to figure out exactly what it is or the things that it is.
Yeah.
Because once you do that, then you can actually begin the recovery process to feeling better. When
Yeah.
I'm a type of person where I have a fear of the unknown. Of not knowing. I like if I want to know something, like I need to know the answer. And if I don't have the answers to something that worries me, it freaks me out, it panics me, it frustrates me.
Yeah.
And this is one of those unfortunate situations. And
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I think I'm on the same boat. I don't know. I've been a very anxious person, so I feel
Me
like
too.
if anything is even the slightest bit wrong, I worry.
that's exactly
I'm
what
like-
I'm dealing with.
No, so I totally understand what it's like to be in your shoes, and I am sorry that you're going through that.
Yeah, me too.
And I really hope that we can find something, figure out the problem, figure out how we can get to a solution soon, because you deserve to feel better. It's been too long of not feeling good. So.
I know. It's basically been. I haven't had a day where I have felt 100% good the entire day in like over a month. Well over like month and a half.
Yeah.
And when it's every single day, you wake up and the first thought you're expecting is, okay, how bad am I going to feel today? It's
That's
horrible.
no fun.
And you're just hijacked into that cycle of thought until you have an answer that can help you break that trend. Because I have the perseverance and the drive to break it if I had the answer. But I
Yeah.
just feel like I'm, I kind of have a blindfold tied over my eyes and I'm just kind of blindly searching in the unknown for an answer that feels like it's never going to come.
I feel like it also makes it harder to like order at restaurants and stuff. That's my anxious feeling is like ordering
Yeah.
at restaurants. Everything pretty much has dairy in it. And I'm like, I just feel so anxious every time I order at a restaurant because I have to like get it without this or without this or without that. And I don't like being that person to have to modify everything. And I had one really, really good experience at a restaurant in Whitewood. I went and I got a chicken wrap. And I was like, oh, but I'm lactose intolerant, so can you take the cheese out? She's like, actually, we have lactose-free cheese. I'll put that in there for you. And I was like, oh,
Boom.
there's like, it's so nice.
Yeah.
When you have people who can accommodate that for you and aren't making you feel as though it's a problem.
Exactly. Heaven forbid. Like, because sometimes you do worry a little bit, maybe in the back of your head. It's
Yeah.
like you're at a restaurant and it's like, oh, I'm lactose intolerant. Can you please take away the cheese? And even if they might not give a full reaction, you can almost tell like them like writing it down. They're just like, oh,
Annoyed.
really? Because that's more work for now. I have to write down more, and that's more work for the cooks. And like, you always like silently worry that's going to happen every single time. And it's, again, it's just one of those things that, you just worry that might happen.
So actually, a fun fact, including lactose intolerance, is approximately 80% of East Asians have lactose intolerance. That is a lot of people.
That is high, because when you consider East Asia, that encompasses like China and India. That's a lot of people.
That
a lot
is
of people.
Crazy. I feel like, as crazy as it sounds, it also seems pretty accurate, though.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people deal with a lot of different things. So if you're out there and you don't have any food or health ailments, like even into your adult life, like you don't have any of that, good for you.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Because I do think there are more, like a lot of people, like more people than you might think that have some food or some health problem that maybe you wouldn't have known if you would have never asked.
I feel like it's a lot more common nowadays actually to have it. Like I don't remember when I was a kid, like nobody ever really had any issues.
Well, I feel like because one of the things that can contribute to things like Crohn's disease or celiac disease is living in a industrialized modern society where in the context of we have a lot more processed stuff in foods. Food and drink is not as pure as it once was. So I feel like a lot of these health ailments are probably going to keep rising and rising as time goes on because there are processed stuff, preservatives, this like and pesticides in our food and all that. And microplastics too. All that stuff just keeps entering our bodies, and our bodies are not at their core are not meant to
ingest that.
Because we I believe that we evolved for several hundreds of thousands of years to eat pure food off the tree or out of the ground or from the animal that you catch in the woods. Yeah. And then now, we're, you can think of what fast food, some of those establishments, what they're doing, but like, I don't even want to know.
I just feel like, a lot of our food is processed now and slowly killing us. And I feel like that's the death of society. That's the
death of society is going to be chicken McNuggets. It's not going to be a comet plummeting towards Earth. It's going to be.
That is the actual way the world ends. We all just die from food. I feel like
maybe you never know. You never know.
I feel like you're right though. There's a lot of bad things in the food we eat nowadays.
Yeah.
That's why personally I'm a huge fruit person.
I've been trying to eat more fruit, and I feel like actually out of all the food, because that's one of the things I was going to mention. What's also frustrating is that when you try and eliminate food triggers, there are some foods that sometimes it triggers me, but then other times it doesn't. Or I might eat something that might be a food trigger, and I might feel fine the first day or two, but then a couple days later I start feeling bad, and it's hard to tell if that was the trigger and it just affected me several days later, or if it's the more recent thing.
It's a guessing game.
But fruit, thankfully, has been one of the things that has, to my knowledge, it's been the thing that has bothered me the least. So
that's good.
I have an apple and banana packed. I think I'm going to go eat that after we're done.
I love green grapes personally. They have to be green.
I have had an addiction to grapes since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But they're so expensive like nowadays, right?
They are. Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's like
if you have like
crazy.
grapevines, if you live in Manitoba and you have grapevines,
hit us up.
We'll
Please,
come pay and we'll buy some of your grapes.
I also like cherries, but cherries are also super expensive.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I don't like food that has the pit in them because that's extra effort. And I don't want to accidentally swallow a pit. I'm picky sometimes. Okay, I can be particular.
Little Mr.
Choose your words carefully here. Choose your words carefully here.
Mr. Perfectionist.
Oh, I'm 100% a perfectionist.
Oh yeah. I completely forgot what I was gonna say. I had an insult in mind.
You're probably gonna say something way more mean, and then you decided to dial it back.
It left. It just.
Even though we deal with our health issues, we still bully each other.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. There is no shortage of that. So
it keeps us both smiling. So
it keeps us smiling, and you know what? It helps us fight another day until we can get one step closer to feeling like the best forms of ourselves that we possibly can.
Preach.
And that, I think, is actually a good way to start kind of winding down, because we are almost out of time. So
I feel like this has been a good episode.
it's been a good episode. Even though at points it seemed very down and depressing.
I feel it's very informational for the people out there who might be struggling with the same things we are.
It's therapeutic in a way, too.
Yeah.
Get out your grievances, your frustrations, even if it's in a public setting. But But you know what? I feel like we are brave people because we're able to speak this to the very nice, kind audience. And listen, I'm going to switch topics here briefly and say, if you've been watching and you've been enjoying these episodes, we appreciate it. Even if you're not giving us any feedback through emails or whatnot, that's fine. You don't have to. But if you've watched any of our episodes and if we have brought some joy to your day, maybe you have a health issue and maybe our episodes...
heard.
You feel heard, or maybe, us maybe, giving you a laugh or two, or maybe just cringe, depending on how you react to our episodes. If we can help distract you from that just for a little bit in the day, it means a lot to us, and we're glad that we can be that for you.
I feel like it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
If especially we don't know how many people watch it,
Could be 5, it could be 500. We don't know.
Or if people are enjoying it, but we enjoy doing it.
We love doing it.
And
so for as long as you guys enjoy doing it, we'll keep trucking this train along.
And if you guys enjoy it as much as we do, that's all that we could ask for.
Absolutely.
This isn't hard for us to do.
No.
We enjoy doing it, we
fun.
hope we can bring some smiles to people.
Exactly. See, we have to end on something positive.
Yeah.
See, if you're gonna have a whole string of sadness or negativity to get out the bad feelings, end with something happy, or start and end with something happy, so that you can raise the spirits.
I think that was a good end.
That was a good end. So with that, thank you very much for watching episode. I hope it's 7. I'm fairly certain it's 7. If I'm wrong, then then thank you for watching episode 8 or 7 or 6,
whatever episode
or 13.
This is.
I don't know.
This is 25, secretly.
25, maybe, yeah. But thank you very much for watching. Once again, if you or someone you know is interested in doing a podcast here in-house at WCGTV, you can hit us up at the email at wcgtv@westmancom.com. We love your emails, and we will hopefully try and answer them as quickly as we can. Thank you for watching our episode again.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us from Kenzie and Cullen. Bye for now.